Hello, welcome to Bite Me Fanboy, a comics podcast. I'm Kate.
I'm Tom.
I'm Kirsten.
Did we get Jordan?
Did I not? Do y'all not hear me?
Now we hear you.
I couldn't remember if I went third or fourth.
Okay. Nothing changed. I don't know what happened other than, okay, I'm wondering if because my voice was so much softer than the clap, maybe?
Maybe. Let's do it again.
I don't know.
Hello, welcome to Bite Me Fanboy, a comics podcast. I'm Kate.
I'm Tom.
I'm Jordan.
I'm Kirsten.
And today we're going to be talking about the Webtoon Solo Leveling, written by Chugong and published by D&C Media. So, spoiler warning right up top, we are going to be talking about the first 11 chapters of this Webtoon. However, some of us have read the whole thing, and so just to be on the safe side, this is kind of a spoiler warning for everything in this Webtoon, including all of the other chapters that are past the ones that some of us have read. For example, Kirsten has read, I think, this whole comic, so she probably knows everything that's going to be happening in the future. Speaking of Kirsten, I'm going to throw it over to her for a summary of what we're going to be talking about.
Solo Leveling is a webtoon that came out a few years ago. It follows Song Jinwoo, and in this world there have been dungeons that are springing up. So they're just kind of portals that when you go through them, they enter into a dungeon, there's monsters there, and the only way to close the portals is to kill the boss of the dungeon. If you don't do that after 7 days, then all the monsters escape. So, at the same time, some people develop powers, and they find out that they can be hunters. Some of them are just super strong, or they can use magic, or they can conjure weapons or raise the dead, just all kinds of things. And there are also some people that were negatively affected by the magic that came into the world because of this event. And sometimes they just they go into like a coma and then they never wake up. And they're not really sure what causes it, and they're not sure how to fix it. So you start off by seeing Jinwoo, and he is an E rank hunter, which is the worst that you can be. It goes from E to S, and so he is considered like the world's weakest hunter.
Point of order. It's E,
Okay.
E, D, C, B, A, and then S. It's not E, F,
okay.
G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S.
Thank you.
I say this because there's a significant chance my parents will listen to this, and I wanted to make sure they understand what we're saying.
No, that's fair. I was thinking of like an S tier list, and I was like, yeah,
tier lists.
They don't. So yeah, he's considered the world's weakest hunter. Every time he goes to do a dungeon raid, everybody's kind of relieved because they know, like, because he's there, nothing bad is going to happen. Because they wouldn't put him on a mission where, like, he would get injured. He does this because they make money off of gems that they receive off the monsters.
Yeah, there are these crystals that basically can provide a free, clean energy source. And so there's this whole economy, and this is something that I find fascinating about the world. There is an entire economy based around keeping the dungeons open until it's too dangerous, keeping the portal open, and then just going in there with a mining crew, strip mining out all those crystals, and then collapsing the portal afterwards so the monsters don't get out. Yeah,
exactly. So yeah, they've got a whole like economy running off these dungeons. They've made it work for them. This is a worldwide phenomenon. So like everybody in the world is affected by this. So you find out that Jinwoo's mom has been affected by the disease where she goes into a coma and she has not woken up. So he is left to pay for her medical bills and pay for his sister's schooling, and his sister wants to be a doctor, and so that's going to be expensive. And so he has to keep hunting even though he doesn't want to do it to support his family. So that's his backstory. So the day we meet him, he is going to go on a dungeon raid. There's a bunch of people there. There's one guy who's come out of retirement, and he's done it because he needs to make some money because he has another kid on the way. There's a couple older people, but everybody's super relieved that he's there. So they go into the dungeon, they fight some monsters, and Jinwoo immediately gets hurt. The healer, who is actually a pretty high-ranked healer, she's a B tier healer. She has some very serious PTSD revolving around the dungeons, and so she can't go into any higher level ones. So she basically goes into these E-ranked dungeons in order to help people like Jim. So they clear the dungeon, she heals him, and they kind of realize that like there's another level to the dungeon that they're in. And they're like, this is really interesting. I think it's a double dungeon. They're like, these are super rare. And they get a smidge greedy. And they're like, hey, if we go back out and we tell the people that there's this double dungeon and we report it, they're just going to send in a different crew. And then they're going to get the gems and everything from this. And then we're going to miss out. And so they're like, why don't we just go explore it? So they take a vote, kind of like a la Squid Games,
It's very Squid Games. Let's take a vote to see if we're going to do something that'll likely kill us. Let's take a vote to Prisoner's Dilemma. That is the vibe I got.
Yeah, no.
In Squid Games, if they voted no, they could have left.
Yeah, and in this one,
it was an all or nothing. The ones who voted no didn't get to leave.
Yeah. So, because they need a minimum amount of hunters per dungeon, per their regulation. So, and if people start leaving the dungeon, the Hunters Guild is going to have a question about, like, why did they leave? What's going on? And so they could have gotten in trouble. Spoiler, they do get in trouble, but not for the reason they thought.
Yeah, it sounds like this place is pretty dangerous. You have to be very careful in here.
Super chill. So, they find a door, and they're like, this is kind of weird. We haven't seen a door like this. They push it open, and they kind of enter into like a giant atrium situation or a temple situation. There's like guardian statues in the perimeter. It's a big circle. Some of them have weapons. Some of them have musical instruments. Everybody's kind of confused what's going on. There's no like monster per se that they can see. And then there's this giant statue kind of in the middle, and it's huge. It's bigger than all the other ones. And so they're walking around. They're like, I don't know what the crap's happening. So they find a runic text. There's one guy that's able to translate it. And so they say, okay, this is Parthenon's temple's commandments. And first you worship the Lord, and then second you praise the Lord, and then third you have to prove your faith. And so they say that, and then everything gets weird. And then Jordan has a comment.
They are literally told the rules of this dungeon. They are like veteran dungeon delvers, and yet they don't immediately clock, hey, this is how we stop the weird shit from happening.
They've never seen.
I don't know what to tell you, Jordan. Clearly none of them had the tism. I don't know what to tell you.
They are told the rules.
No one here has seen Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Take a leap of faith.
The penitent man will pass.
I mean, so in Indiana Jones, he's given a riddle, and this, they are literally told, here are the rules to follow.
Yeah, it specifically says if you do not follow these commandments, you will never return alive.
Jordan, I'm gonna throw this out there. I know what you do for a living. You know people cannot follow basic written instructions without something catastrophic happening because they didn't follow the instructions.
Mm-hmm. And when I have to go look at page 3, paragraph 4, and read that to me, I know. It's just, you would think if someone's life is on the line, they pay attention
I'm
to the
with
rules.
you on that. It's not even that. It's, for me, what stands out is because this uses the ranking system, the E through S ranking system is something that it comes out of video games and tabletop gaming sometimes. The dungeon of Dungeons and Dragons is what they call these portals. So it's, again, using the tropes of gaming. So I would expect people to understand this is what some friends of mine colloquially call a Zelda puzzle. And so you would expect that these people are like, okay, Zelda puzzle, let's get on this. We know how this works. And all of that. But also at the same time, I don't begrudge it just because there are people who, like, I have worked with people who are in serious jobs and you just wonder how they got there if they aren't aware of how things work. And it's because they're jobbers. It's because it's, and I don't begrudge someone for being like, no, this is my job. This is not my passion. This is not what I'm doing for fun. And so they don't think about it in terms of, like, the way we do video games. It's still like, yeah, but at the same time, I've been in enough organizations where you just go, okay, you guys, yeah, I thought this was basic knowledge everybody here knew.
And that's also, so seeing how all of this plays out is the reason I don't play a lot of multiplayer online games, because it frustrates me to no end, because people cannot, you can't trust the people.
Jordan.
I play with y'all. I play with y'all because I trust you, and you generally will listen to me when I'm telling you this is how we get through this alive. And instead of, like, leaving behind party members or splitting off or random people panicking for no reason, when it's very much y'all need to be quiet or we're all gonna die.
For Patreon content, we're gonna put Jordan on, like, we're gonna make her play a game with strangers.
No, absolutely not. That would be a not safe for work, me screaming and yelling at people. No.
That's why it's Patreon.
Okay. Read the rules. You're gonna die if you don't do the rules. And it, like, straight up tells them that. They're like, hey, you gotta do the things we say. So yeah, and then, of course, there's, like, the one dude, because the door slams behind them after they read this, a la horror movie. And there's one dude who's like, fuck this, I'm out of here, starts walking towards the door. And so, a la horror movie, one of the statues that has, like, a hatchet, like, bigger than that. I don't know.
I think it was a halberd, right?
I don't know what those are.
So, like, it's long pole with a flat,
It's a fireman's axe with a long handle.
There you go.
Okay. Yes. But fancier. This guy's headless now. And so everybody starts screaming and freaking out and panicking. And they're like, oh my God, what's happening? And that's when a lot of people die. Like, immediately. So they start running. And some people get hit with the guards. Eventually, Jimu notices that, like, the god figure is actually, like, staring at him in the creepiest way possible. If you do anything, you need to, like, look at what this god statue looks like. It's nightmare fuel.
I had seen that face before on the internet. I just didn't know what it was from.
It's terrible. And it like pops up when you're least expecting it. Because, of course, they have PTSD. And it's like, I have PTSD from that face. So the god's staring at him and he's like, holy crap, what's happening? And then all of a sudden, like, fire, flames, a laser comes out of his eyes. And he just, like, scorches the ground everywhere he looks. His buddy, the healer, is now catatonic on the ground. She's freaking out. Everybody's on the ground. They're like, holy crap, what do we do? We're all gonna die. One guy is like, hey, I'm fast, because apparently his ability is, like, he's the Flash. And he's like, I'm gonna make a break for the door. And as he's running, he gets, like, fried along the way, and so you just see, like, his little feet left. It's a whole thing. Eventually, our hero realizes, hey, what if we, like, think this through? And he's like, I think we need to kneel down to the statue, because he realizes like every time they stand up, the statue's eyes start glowing. Every time they lay back down, eyes stop glowing. He's like, cool. So let's all bow to the statue. They proceed to all bow to the statue. And they're like, cool. We did it. They test it. Somebody stands up. They're like, cool. We're not dead. We passed it. We can get out of here. We finished the whole thing. Lies. They did not. So all of a sudden, the statue stands up. They're like, cool. So now we have to worship the Lord. And they're like, I don't know what that means. What's happening here? And
these people did not have church camp like you and I did.
Right. While this god is sitting in this chair, he smiles like the world's creepiest smile. It's like nightmare fuel. It's the thing that Tom remembers. Like it's terrible. I don't like it. And the statue then stands up from his throne and he starts a walking. One person in their group is like, hey, I am like the best worshiper ever. I'm gonna make this happen. And he starts worshiping to like a different god. And Junu's like, hold on, you're singing for the wrong god. Like this isn't gonna work. And then all of a sudden the guy gets squished by a foot. So now again, they are freaking out. And they're like, all right, everybody just like run around like little bugs, basically. And try to get away. So while they're running, Junu's got his friend, still catatonic. She's useless. They're running around trying to figure out. And he realizes in between the statues that have along the perimeter of the wall that have weapons, ones in between it have like instruments. And so he's like, hey, run towards the instruments. I think that's the way to do it. So one guy bravely runs towards the instrument. I think it's a harp or something. And the harp starts playing. And so they're like, hey, if we stand by these ones, they're not going to kill us. And the instrument starts playing. And so everybody just scrambles like cockroaches, kind of, towards the statues with instruments. Jimu does the same thing, but he, of course, went with his buddy, who is catatonic. And nothing happens when they get there. And he's like, what the crap is happening? He realizes that it's one person per statue. So he now has to run across the room to find a different statue to stand in front of. All the meanwhile, the god is like walking around, squishing him. So he starts a run-in. He's got to avoid all the statues that have the weapons, because those will kill him. He almost gets squished. He makes it, but in the process, he loses a leg. So once everybody gets to a statue and gets to safety, the Lord goes and sits back down. Everything calms again, and everybody's freaking out. Then the third part happens. Of course, you got to prove your faith. So an altar pops out from kind of the center of this cylindrical room, and it raises up on its little dais, and nobody knows what's happening. They think that they need to go sacrifice somebody. Song Chi-yol. He's the leader. Everybody's like, hey, it was your choice to bring us here. You're the leader. You need to go sacrifice yourself. And of course, Jinwoo and his buddy are like, no, don't do that. This is terrible. We'll find another way. But luckily the leader, he's a pretty stand-up guy, and he's like, no, you're right. I messed up. I'm going to go try it out. So he walks into the circle and gets next to the altar. Nothing happens. The only thing that happens is a orange flame pops up from the ground. And then he's like, I'm fine. Everybody's fine, but I don't know what to do. Jinwoo realizes, like, hey, maybe we all need to go stand over there. So they drag a one-legged Jinwoo over to the altar. Everybody gets in there, and more flames pop up, matching the number of hunters that are still alive. There's then a larger circle of blue flames. When those appear, the door opens up, and then the statues start walking towards them. And then Jinwoo notices that the blue flames are going out kind of like a timer. around the circle. And so one girl, of course, panics. She runs out of there, and she is fine when she runs out of there. And everybody's like, what the crap is this? They do notice that as she runs out, the door shuts a little bit. So everybody's like, we just need to run. Jinwoo's like, don't do it. We're testing our faith. You got to stay here. He also realizes that the statues only move if you're not staring at them.
Bunch of weeping angels.
Yes. So apparently this is a Korean game they play as children where they just got to stare at them. Otherwise they'll move. So...
yeah, don't blink.
Yeah, don't blink. But
blinking, you're dead.
But because of how they're situated and how the statues are spread out in this circle, they have to have a certain number of people in order to be able to watch all the statues. And so Jimu finds out the hard way that number is 4 because more people are just running out. You know, people are ditching them. Eventually, it's just down to Jimu, his friend, the healer, and then the guy who's the leader. Also, the leader only has one arm. This is important later on. But he only has one arm because he lost it due to an accident in this dungeon. So it's just 3 of them. The leader is like, leave me. It's my fault. I'll stay here because if all of them try to leave, then the door is going to shut. Because the door's slowly been shutting more and more as more people leave. So he's like, there's not enough room. Leave me. I'm gonna die here. Jimu and his friend, the healer, they're like, okay, we'll get out of here. But the healer all of a sudden, in that moment, decides that she has run out of mana and cannot possibly stand, which is incredibly infuriating as another woman. But she's like, I give up. I can't do anything. And she just collapses to the ground. And so she can't help Jinwoo get out of there. He only has one leg. He's not hopping anywhere. So Jinwoo is like, take her, take yourself, get out of here. I'm going to stay. And he gives the girl the one crystal he was able to manage to get. And he's like, hey, give this back to me when I get out. She's like, what are you talking about? I can't possibly leave you. Leader basically karate chops her to the neck. She passes out. And he's like, cool. Thank you so much. We will never forget your sacrifice. Picks her up and he runs out. So now the door's shut. All the statues are showing up. Jimu is like, come and get me. I'm going to fight you off. But they're like very tall statues.
He's trying to fight a rock.
Yeah, he's trying to fight a golem, basically. And there's like a bunch of them. So they're just beating the crap out of him. The pinnacle of the episode is that they throw him onto the altar. They're about to like bring the sword down. And then all of a sudden, time kind of stops and a screen appears before Jinwoo's face.
The divine iPad.
Right? And it says, it's an alarm. It says, you have earned the right to become a player. Will you accept? It says you do not have much time remaining. If you refuse, your heart's going to stop in approximately 0.02 seconds. Will you accept? And Jimu is like, yeah, I don't want to die. So he accepts. And then it just says, welcome player, and then he passes out. He doesn't know what happens. So the next thing we see is that he's waking up in a hospital. He's fine. He's got his leg, and he doesn't know what happened. Some guys come from the Hunter Association. They explain to him that when the people escaped the Double Dungeon, they let everybody know what happened. When some other hunters came back in to investigate, they found the circular room that they were in completely devoid of anything, and they just found Jimu outside the doors. And they don't know what happened. So they took an unconscious Jimu to the hospital. They said he looked fine. And so the Hunters Guild is like pretty sus about this. And they're like, we think you might have had a second awakening. Because based on what everybody else described and what they look like, you should be super dead. And so they have him test basically by putting his hand like on this little sphere. And surprise, surprise, it reads that he is at a level E. Like, not even kind of a level E. He gets like a 10. And that's pretty much as bad as it can get. So the guys from the Hunters Guild leave super disappointed. And then Jumu's sister shows up. Her name is Gina. And she's like, hey, I'm so glad you're okay. I wish you wouldn't go to these dungeons. You keep getting hurt. It's really stupid. And he's like, I gotta make money. And he's like, hey, while you're here, do you see this screen? And she's like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. And she just like keeps on trekking, right? She just keeps on talking to him, completely ignoring the fact that her brother's hallucinating.
And isn't she studying to be a doctor?
Yeah.
She's ignoring symptoms?
Yeah, okay, but sure that can just be sibling behavior.
Yeah, true.
So, once she leaves, Jumu's like, weird. I guess it is a screen. I don't know what's happening here. But the screens shows that there's a daily quest that he has to fulfill. If he doesn't fulfill it, it'll bring a punishment. And so this quest says that he's got to do 100 push-ups, 100 curl-ups, 100 squats, and he's got to run 10 kilometers each day. And there's a countdown. And he's like, nah, man, I'm in the hospital. I'm not doing this. And so he falls asleep, and then the time runs out. And the next thing he knows, he's like falling through the floor, and he lands in this like Dune-esque hellscape. And there's like sand centipedes that pop out of the ground, and they're immediately trying to eat him. The screen pops back up, and it's like, hey, your penalty is that you got to survive this. You got to make it till time runs out, and you got to run around for 4 hours. And so, last we see of him, he is frantically running away from the sand centipede. And that is the first 11 episodes. And the first episode of the anime. Done.
All right. Well, what did we all think?
This is why I don't game with people I don't know. And also why I refuse to play a healer. Because, of course, if you're one of the few girls in a group, you're immediately going to be the healer.
Yeah.
This is why I went Necromancer my first D&D game. Because I can heal myself. If y'all do something stupid, I'm not healing you. You should have listened to me. I can bring back your bodies to fight for me.
The fact that your D&D entire ethos is you should have listened to me is such... I don't know. That I don't know how to say this without sounding like an asshole, but like that is the most Jordan thing I've ever seen.
I just felt like there were no women characters making smart decisions.
Correct.
Oh yeah, no, this is like so I was not entirely sure what tone this story was going for, but here is after getting further into the story, this is what my takeaway is. My feeling is it's meant to make you identify with him. I'm not saying this is a good way of doing things, but I think we're supposed to identify with him in that we can figure it out, but nobody else can. And so we're supposed to be frustrated that nobody else can figure it out. But in doing so, it also alienates us from all of the other characters because they can't handle Zelda, which is a video game made for children. And like you said, the woman doesn't do anything. Her job is to carry... She carries the main character, who's a man, around when he loses his leg. And then after that, she loses her ability to stand up. So then some other man has to carry her out, so she can't have a part of this. It is rough in terms of characters. Everybody kind of is a different stage of, and I do think this is intentional. I think every person there is a different stage of reasons people wouldn't listen to the main character. Like, there's a guy who thinks he's wrong. There's a guy who thinks he's an idiot. There's a guy who thinks, okay, we solved the problem, so we're good to go. And then by the end, there's a guy who's just like, I've been following you, I like you, but I have to do this for the good of somebody else, so I have to disobey you. And the prove your faith trial it's very clearly prisoner's dilemma stuff. It's It's saying if you all work together, everybody's going to be fine. But if you fall short, then everybody dies. And then they say, ah, yes, every man for himself. And I understand there's a lot of issues with the prisoner's dilemma in that it's like it's a thought experiment. It's not a real thing, but like it is this. The author is clearly using that sort of framework to do this scene. So I get what it is. I think the idea of a character who is more cagey and better at gauging trouble in the world because he is literally the bottom of the barrel when it comes to agency in this world, and how he is forced to work at the bottom of the barrel for scraps because he's trying to make this gamble to save his family. I think all of that is a good idea, and it's interesting to me. It's also the plot of Squid Game. And the thing about Squid Game, I'm going to say this tonally, and this is because I'm about like 50 chapters from the end right now, not including the spinoff. But I'm about 50 chapters from the end, and the difference between this and Squid Game thematically is Squid Game is I am going to come back and destroy the Squid Game, so that, or you know, these life and death gambling games, so that way this whole system is destroyed and it won't hurt anyone ever again. And what happens in this is he comes back, gains the ability to level up and gain extra powers and stuff like that. And it comes off as, I'm going to go back and do Squid Games and win. And I think that's part of what makes me feel weird. Like, I find it interesting. And one of the big things is after this section, I'm going to just tonally spoil something. After this section, it becomes much more of a power fantasy. And it's like, I'm the person who is telling everybody, I told you so, this is all a problem, but now I have the power. He's not like talking like I'll show you all. It's more like, oh no, now I actually have the power to do this, so let me go fix this. But I thought it was going to be much more pointed the way, as the story went on, like this first section where it's like, oh, these people all have different reasons for disbelieving and not working together. And it didn't. It went into much more of it is kind of like, it's like watching Independence Day, tonally. It's like, yeah, Will Smith and Jeff Goldblum are going to kill those aliens. Yeah. You know, it's very much that kind of thing. And so it's very interesting just like to see the weird, what weirds me out is the gear shift between the first 11 chapters where he's like haplessly running through the desert with these sandworms or sand centipedes. And then later on, he gets sent to the penalty box again, but he's now so powerful he just kills all of the centipedes and just sits there waiting to come back.
Yeah, he actually wants to go there.
Yeah, he actually uses that as a way to get out of something. And I find that interesting. It's just very different from what the first 11 chapters are. And I'm going to be honest, the character, the hunter that we keep talking about, the healer with PTSD, she doesn't come back, really. She, like, shows up incidentally in some drawings of scenes. And at one point she's like, oh, wow. But she just kind of disappears. And that's kind of what happens to every character. Like, every time there's a new arc, it's just, here's an entire new cast of characters. And that feels very weird. So, if you're wondering if she gets more development, I have horrible news.
It also falls into the trope of don't talk about your family constantly because you're not making
everyone who mentions a family dies. If you mention your family, he doesn't. He's fighting for his family and he knows.
He keeps it a secret. And so I didn't find him interesting at all. I found what was happening to him a little bit interesting towards the end because I want to know who's sending him those messages, what's going on about that. But him, I just found boring.
Yeah, he was a typical isekai protagonist, and I didn't find any of the characters extremely compelling, so, like, there was nothing for me to grasp onto.
I do want to know the mystery, though, of why is he getting those messages, who's sending them. The portals gave me Pacific Rim vibes. I'm like, I want to know why those opened up. I want to know what's on the other side. Where are these monsters coming from? Do they have an entire, what's their system over there? What do they think is happening? Because suddenly they're appearing in a different world, too. And people are just showing up to kill them.
Do we ever find out the answer or like an explanation for that? Because I feel like we would not.
So
You
yeah, I
do.
was going to say,
Oh.
I've not gotten to the point where they fully lay it out, but there is a point where the monsters talk and are like, yeah, we're here to hunt humans. And he says, why? And he says, well, it's because there's this. And then something like literally something in the universe cuts the guy off and like prevents him from being able to talk. And that was the point where I'm like, okay, I'm interested in this world now. That was the moment I got interested in the world. Is like, oh, there's literally a cosmic force that's keeping this guy from giving the game away. And the monsters can talk and are stuck here. I'm like, okay, I want to see how this pans out. And that is actually, I will say, the thing that makes me interested is number one, I like weird monster designs, and there are a lot of weird monster designs, but also I want to see what's in this world. I want to see why this world operates the way it does. Now, Kirsten, you know how this turns out. So you alone will be able to tell me if I'm not going to be sad at the end and disappointed when I find out it's actually just like a reveal that he's actually just a player character in like World of Warcraft or something, and this is all they're all like doing a USS what's the Black Mirror thing where they're all on a spaceship, but it's actually a video game and they're all NPCs and like the captain is the
Oh.
only person playing. USS McAllister is
Yeah.
as long as it's not that I'm gonna keep being interested. But the fact that he is referred to as the player, there is an I'm gonna say this. There is a weird thing, and and this is coming from someone who is going to finish reading this series. There is this weird thing, and it is a thing with guys, much more than I've ever seen with women. Mostly, I don't know, and I don't mean to be general. I don't mean to be gender essentialist about this, but it's a guy thing where it's kind of this main character syndrome of I am the hero and everybody else is an NPC, a non-player
Main
character.
character syndrome.
Well, it's a specific type of main character syndrome. I've never seen it with. That's not to say this doesn't happen. I've never seen it with women, but like there is this. I have this, phenomenal power that I keep hidden, and I'm going to show it off. And there is like, there's fun power fantasy stuff like that, but it's the, oh, people thought I was weak and useless, but look how strong I am now, and it's from a really kind of toxic mixture of like machismo and hustle culture. And the fact is that because suddenly becoming powerful doesn't work that way, you end up with a lot of guys who are super self-critical about themselves and like and this is where like the a lot of really nasty rabbit holes for young men go through, like the Andrew Tate rabbit hole. Like he is trying to say, "Oh yeah, you're the real character, everybody else is an NPC." And it's just knowing where I go from in the comic. And I think I haven't gotten to the end, so I don't know if the comic is trying to comment on this. But he is getting darker and darker as a person. And there is a character who, like, sees his soul and is like, oh man, there's this weird darkness inside of him. And I think the story is trying to comment on that. And I think the story is trying to criticize that because he also has some very good emotional scenes where he, like, I'm going to spoil something. He heals his mom partway through the story. It keeps going. But the scene where he heals his mom is great. Like, you see this emotion, you see this outpouring of, like, actually this guy being a character. And it's the moment you see the interiority of this guy. And I thought that was great. I kind of wish we had more of it. But there's a lot of, like, shutting that kind of thing away with a lot of young men. And I say this as someone who interacts with, like, teenagers for my job. I don't know how to feel about it in this comic because I think the author's criticizing it. Like I said, I haven't gotten to the point of the ending where they go, yeah, actually, you were right the whole time, and actually, it's good to be this way and have main character syndrome. So I don't know if that's the ending. But it feels like it's criticizing that, but at the same time, everybody else is so flat. It's very weird. It feels so weird because it's like trying to do a story that criticizes the, like, machismo that is all about destroying yourself and your actual like personal identity for the sake of being strong, quote unquote strong. But at the same time, like everybody conforms to that worldview because of the weird main character syndrome. So I don't know how to feel about it. On the other hand, compared to some other comics I've read, the women are not nearly as sexualized as I was expecting. It's not nearly as gross to look at some of the women. Like, we've done Batman comics, and like you can see some of the stuff in the Batman comics, and I'm just like, ooh, that's a little weird that you're doing that. Why you got to draw them that like that? And so I don't know. I find it fascinating, and so that's why I'm going to keep finishing Solo Leveling. I never know if I'm going to say at the end that I liked it or I didn't, but I find it fascinating.
Jordan, do you want to say some thoughts about what you thought?
Well, so I had some thoughts earlier. It was very much they're not paying attention, but to what Tom was saying, a lot of it is how women are socialized differently than men. We're taught to put ourselves last. Everyone else is more important than us, which has led to a lot of, they're now linking autoimmune diseases to the fact that women suppress so much that because we aren't listened to by doctors. And we're told that our pain is all in our heads. It's not real. So we suppress our emotions because they're inconvenient. And it gives us autoimmune diseases.
You're literally suppressing your own T cells?
Yeah. So someone who actually works in the medical field will know more about the specifics of that than I do. If they ever decide that they want to actually study women again, since we've stopped all funding for that, which is why more women end up dying of heart attacks, because we don't actually know the symptoms women have.
Yeah, what do you mean?
We've only studied men's heart attacks.
What do you mean study women again? Like, we had trouble with that from the very start of like research.
Well, right, but like, so before the last year or so, we had actually started studying women for like the last 5 years or something. Had started studies, and now they've cut all the funding for that. So, yay. We don't actually know what's wrong, and no one really cares to find out. But that's like the whole, like the big endometriosis study that got funding was to find out if women were more attractive if they had it, than to figure out what was causing it.
Wait, what?
How we could actually find out what was doing other than doing exploratory surgery to find out if you had it.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So women are socialized differently, which is why women come off or in real life as not as many having like the main character syndrome, because we're taught we are the least important. We are supposed to empathize with everyone else. That's why
when your friend's leg gets blown off, you have to carry him, and you're the healer for the party.
Yeah, but also like in movies, in movies and books, it's typically what we read in school has male protagonists. Most of the movies that come out have male protagonists, and women are expected to empathize with those characters, even though we don't see ourselves on the screen. Versus anytime there's a female main character in a book or a movie, men are like, oh, well, this is not for me. I don't have to pay attention to this. And it's like, you can't try to put yourself in
Jordan,
someone
I
else's
saw
shoes
Everything
for once.
Everywhere All at Once, and there was a woman in that movie, I think. So I think we're actually, there is actually more women than men, based on my experience of seeing that movie.
Oh, and all the studies of how men think that women talk more.
Oh yeah.
Uh-huh.
No, it's definitely not a guy who sits here and talks constantly on this podcast.
What's interesting about that is that that's something that I noticed when K-pop Demon Hunters got really, really, really popular and started breaking records. 3 main characters are women. They're girls. And so that's why I was so excited and kind of hopeful, I guess, that it resonated with boys as well as girls, because the 3 main protagonists are all women, which I thought was cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, there was also a boy band. There was a male main character, and you got like his backstory, but it was...
See, they had a boy who was on the team.
He was not on the team.
No, that was a joke. That's literally what everybody says when there's one girl on the team.
Oh yeah.
There's one Ninja
Fantastic
Turtle in
Four?
the live action TV show that's a girl. We didn't name her after a painter. She's named after a work of art. Unlike all the others who are named after great artists. And there's definitely nothing. Nothing to read into there.
Yeah, the active versus
Yeah,
passive.
yeah. There's nothing to read into
Nothing to
there.
read into
It's
there.
just like, yeah, yeah. There's Leonardo. There's Leonardo, Donatello, Raphael, Michelangelo, and Venus de Milo.
Oh God.
Yes, they named the female turtle
Okay.
Venus.
Kirsten, I would like to know why you chose this and like why you like it.
So, I don't know, guys.
Yes, after we've dunked on it, Kate, we probably should have been nicer.
I don't think we were super mean. I mean, I think that, we just have certain issues with it. And I think that some things are not for all of us, and that's okay. We all have different tastes.
Well, and I'm also thinking a lot of the things that we've shared currently have been things that we either hadn't read in a while, or I remember with Jason, it had been at least 6 or 7 years since I had even thought about that storyline, and so I was a little defensive when I brought it up because I'm like, I did not remember it being this bad. I just remember I got my boy Jason back.
Yeah, and then of course we read Death in the Family, and there's just that entire last issue.
Yeah, that I had blocked from my memory.
Kirsten, I'm gonna say this as someone who enjoyed my time reading this and will finish the series. You are welcome to count this as getting revenge on Jordan for the weird Iranian Joker bit.
So, Jordan and Kate, do you guys read a lot of manga?
I read all the Psychopath stuff.
Okay.
I read Full Metal Alchemist. I haven't read a lot. Oh, Yona of the Dawn. I love.
Okay. So do you know the difference between like shoujo and shonen?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know there's a difference. I can never remember which term is
so
which.
Shoujo is more geared towards like high school girls. Shonen is more geared towards like high school boys.
Mm-hmm.
So like shoujo would be Sailor Moon and Yona of the Dawn. Shonen, but it's fairy tale and it's
Oh yeah, I love fairy tale.
But like so this, even though it's Korean, I would put it in the category of a shonen manga. Mm-hmm. In that context, how do you feel about the women in this?
Okay, but you're comparing it to like Winry in Full Metal Alchemist, who is absolutely her own force, or you're comparing it to the character design in Fairy Tale I'm not always a huge fan of, but you still have Urza. And you still have, like, Lucy could be annoying, but at the same time, she can hold her own.
Or, like, the girl who's with, like, the grumpy guy, that, like, Gajeel.
Oh, Levy.
I like her.
Yeah.
So, discounting the first girl, because Tom's right. She shows up once, and she goes away. There's another S-rank hunter, and then there's, like, the sister's friend, who becomes a hunter.
Yeah.
They're not sexualized.
And that, I will say, it is really nice to read something where I don't feel uncomfortable reading in public. Like, compared to certain, like I said, I've got some Batman comics that I read them and I'm like, yeah, I love this mystery. And why are they drawing the women like that?
But they're not sexualized and they're respected for their opinions. And in the case of the S-rank hunter, like they respect her as a hunter and doing her job. There are not many women in this, so it's not like a good sample size. But compared to other manga, like this is doing a lot for women.
Okay.
It's a really, I was going to say that's an indictment of the industry. If I'm
I was just going to say that. I was like, the bar is so low.
It is a low bar, but
it is.
Yeah, no, but it is. Here's the thing. At least this guy. There are some like what's it? There's this one. It's really popular. This is a Japanese. It's not Korean. It's really popular, and it has some good jokes in it. It's Konosuba. There are some very, very good like bits of humor in that. The main guy and how the story handles women, like that has good female characters, but I don't know if the author understands that. And I mean, maybe the author does. The author probably does understand they're good characters, but like the main character and how his whole relation to the female gender of Konosuba feels so thoroughly like weird and gross, and it's there on like every page. So yeah, it's like the bar is so low. As you mentioned, Winry, and the thing is that Full Metal Alchemist is kind of like the one of the big high points for women in shonen manga, considering how many complicated female characters there are in Full Metal Alchemist. So
Oh yeah, Frieza and Armstrong.
Reza, Armstrong, Winry, Rose. There's so many, but like that is like considered one of the big highs of like mainstream manga.
I wonder if we can do like a whole episode about Full Metal Alchemist or about Yona of the Dawn because I think they both are fantastic.
So Full Metal Alchemist, we will do Brotherhood and the manga because the Brotherhood follows the manga, not
I was
the
going to read the
original.
manga.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and so we also have the where we compare it to the anime. Yeah, and Yona's just fantastic, and I'm so upset that they're not continuing the anime.
Oh my, don't even get me started. Tom, have you read Yona?
No, I have not read any of it, so I look forward to hearing or look forward to reading it and learning about it because like that's also one that like Kirsten name dropped as one of like the mangas you've read, and that's one of the ones you think of. So
Tom, I think you'll actually really like it.
I look forward to reading it.
And so that's one of the ones where I say get past the first couple because I thought I was going to hate it because of how Yona acts in like the first like few chapters. And then there's a twist where she finally like realizes, "Oh, I have to get my shit together."
Yeah, it's character growth.
And it's fantastic. Yeah. And I mean, her arc makes sense because she's a pampered princess at the beginning.
Yeah, but also I was just gonna say, like, again, Kirsten, if you like want to talk about stuff, because we have not gotten to fight scenes that are really actiony or like the whatever the kids these days call it, the aura moments or whatever it is, hype moments and aura. That's what they call it. We haven't gotten to any of those.
I just didn't want to dump 200 chapters on you guys in order to like fully get it, but
No, and I like that the part that you gave us gave me enough of the mystery to go, I want to keep reading because I want to know what's happening in this world.
Yeah, and I'm good. Like I said, I love fun monster designs, and this thing has it in spades. They do. I mean, Hunter x Hunter fans know, but they do have a couple derivative ideas. But like the god statue is literally like I didn't know what it was from. I literally just knew that face because it's been used all over the internet because it's a really terrifying face. It's what if you took the Statue of Liberty and swapped its face with the Crypt Keeper. And God, I love that. I love that creepy face. But then you get to see they have like orcs show up at one point, but there are multiple different colors of orcs and styles of orcs, and they're in different outfits. Then we get a giant snake later, and the giant snake. I mean, it's a giant snake, but it is bright blue, like electric blue, and that's a really cool color. There's demons riding dragons. There's a lot of like someone had fun drawing monsters, and as someone who also has fun drawing monsters, not this well, but you know, I definitely like that sort of thing, and I'm probably going to start spamming y'all with weird monster pictures of like screenshots I've seen of these guys because there's so many weird but entertaining looking guys. I mean, you know me. I literally am someone who's just a sucker for, hey, look, there's a weird little guy.
What else were your favorite things about this, Kirsten?
so unfortunately, like you don't get to see it in the chapters that I gave to you guys. I like the fact that Jinwoo is super respectful about like his sister and the other hunters. Like he's never like I'm the most powerful being ever.
Yeah,
like
no.
he kind of is, but not till much later. Like he's not a jerk about it.
He is not I am going to now show them all. He's not one of those guys. Because if he was one of those guys, I would not have continued the series. He's not I'm going to show them all. It's more like, yes, hello, very, his, what's the word? Egalitarian. He's very egalitarian about dealing with other people. And that is, again, comparatively, the bar is so low. The bar is so low in so many manga that is geared towards, again, media geared toward boys. Like, I don't know how much of this is intentional, but like, on one hand, you have this thing that's like, oh yeah, the you're the sigma male who goes off on your own thing because you cannot be contained by a team. On the other hand, he also is not talking like, he would never use the phrase sigma male. I'll say it that way. He would never use that phrase
Not at all.
unless that's a hunter rank.
No, no, it's not. And like Tom was saying, like the orcs and the monsters and the demons, like they all have different looks and they all have like different cultures and different languages. Like there's this whole world that you don't get to see a lot of until further in. And then like the world just keeps getting bigger and bigger as you find out more about what's going on.
I just, yeah, like I said, I wish the characters stayed around more between the arcs. Like that is the thing that is my main criticism. But there is a big world out there, and the fact that there is a spin-off, I don't know what the spin-off is about, but the fact that there's a spin-off tells me, oh, okay, so they know that this world is interesting to people. Unless the spin-off is called like Bolo leveling, and it's about his son who is called Bun Jinwoo, or wait, yeah, is that what Naruto's son is named? Boruto?
Boruto, yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna have a sequel to Naruto. It's gonna be about Boruto, who's the son of Naruto. And I'm just like, okay, what? So again, there is a low bar. I also, straight up, I could see myself showing this to someone who does not read manga without feeling like, okay, so My Hero Academia is going to be great. It's kind of like X-Men meets Harry Potter, but you got to deal with, there's this one character who's super creepy about women, and you got to deal with this guy if you want to get through this really good series, because that is the problem with My Hero Academia. It's got a great, a bunch of great stuff to get people interested. It's just, yeah, you gotta deal with this one character who's just such a creep, and it's like the author clearly is like thinks this is the funniest thing ever.
Yeah, and there's like one character there who's like superpower is kink. Like that's what the author
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, here you go.
Exactly. And so I'm like, yeah, no, it is nice to read something where I don't have to say that about things. It's a thing. Like, I don't know. I find it interesting. Like I said, I find the series interesting. I don't know if will say I like it. It's probably going to be something that I spend time sitting there thinking about for a while because of the implications of its world. I don't know the ending, so I don't know if it's going to pay it off. But it was interesting enough for me to read, and like I said, I've got about 50 chapters left before I hit the spin-off.
Well, does anybody want to board Thomas the Take Engine and have some hot takes or controversial opinions that they would like to share with the group? I guess my hot take would be we need to write better women characters just across the board.
I mean, yeah, God, it's just, here's the thing. I'm like, I don't know how to say this without sounding like an absolutely just cynical person, but I was like, yeah, write female characters, like men can write better female characters, and then I stopped myself and just said, okay, was any of the writers I was about to mention embroiled in some sort of sexual harassment controversy?
Oh God.
Because literally one of the people who was held up by the literary establishment as a man who can write women well is Juno Diaz. And no, turns out there's a scandal. Oh yeah, what about Just We? Oh no, there was a scandal there. I know there, Terry Pratchett there. Terry Pratchett proves that men can write women well, and Terry Pratchett has been dead long enough that it's very hard for him to get involved in a sexual harassment scandal now. But no, I think that we need to raise the bar, and I do think that calling it out is worth doing. Also, this was a series from 2018, so I don't think I can tell the author to do better now and have him fix solo leveling.
But 2018 is still relatively recent.
Yeah, but 2018 is still recent. Yes, that's only 7 years ago. What's the phrase? They're old enough to know better.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be. There is a thing where I want to understand and be able to talk in an open mind about cultures, but there is also this weird thing in American fans of Asian media to be like, well, you don't understand in, Japanese, Korean, Chinese culture, this sort of sexism is way more normalized. And I'm like, I mean, barring some significant outliers from China's, Great Firewall, they're all on the same internet that I am, and they're all having access to the same media that I consume.
But it's also like, have you asked women in those
Exactly.
cultures
Yeah,
whether,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah,
No, they can talk to people. There's an
right?
entire internet of out there of talking to people. And so like I don't like even if you literally live in a hole and don't know any people who are different from you in your real life, I think that, there are people on the internet, all over the internet, happy to tell you things you never even wanted to ask them about. So, like, maybe you can ask them about some things if they're so happy to tell you everything about their life.
Any other hot takes or controversial opinions?
I've got one that only Kirsten and I will understand, but after a certain point, when he uses the leveling up, his physical body changes, um, and everyone starts saying he's more attractive now. They're like, "Wow, did you get a
Yeah.
makeover?" It's like he was better looking at the beginning of the series before he got that makeover. And this is full on like Ali Sheedy in the Breakfast Club thing, When he's the little sad trash man, he looked better. He was better looking. Now he looks like every other anime guy. I liked the fact that fun, interesting thing. His eye shape changes, like how the artist draws his eyes, and his eyes are kind of almost drawn in a shojo style at the beginning of the series. He's got the big rounded soft edges on his eyes, and I noticed that. And then like when he levels up, he gets the regular like the hard edge angular shonen eyes, and I was just like, that's an interesting choice. I do think it was a cooler look, and it was more interesting because he had the big round edges, not rounded off edges on his eyes. I would love them to bring it back.
That's interesting. You noticed that.
Kirsten, how am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. He does look like a completely different person.
Yeah, he literally becomes a different height, and people are like, "Why are you now taller?"
Yeah, he goes through all these like weird physical changes, and people are just like, "Oh, I guess this is what you are
He
now."
goes through second puberty.
Yeah,
Does he get like swole?
Yes, he does the Virgin and Chad meme, but just by himself.
All right. So I'm going to take us into best worst drip. Who had the best outfits? Who had the worst outfits? What are our thoughts?
I'm gonna be honest. That creepy statue, best look of the entire film.
yeah,
That
that's
scary,
what I was gonna
scary
say.
looking statue. It will live in your head rent free once you see it because you can't unsee it. It's what if the Statue of Liberty and the Crypt Keeper were combined? It has too many teeth, and it's standing there doing an Indiana Jones puzzle.
Yeah,
Yeah, because at that point, all the heroes are basically just in regular clothes.
it's true.
So
There is a. I was going to say later on, like in his next dungeon delve, there's a guy who shows up in like the ultimate blinged out suit of armor, and I'm like, that actually, I like that outfit. He does.
Did you post a picture of that?
I don't remember. I know he gets knocked over because he's too top heavy. He immediately falls over, but like he has like special armor designed by Italian fashion designers or something. Like he's a nepo baby who is trying to basically act as a hunter to get out from under his father's business. And
They become a found family if that helps change your mind at
oh, you
all.
said the magic words.
Right?
How dare you?
If you say it 3 times in a mirror, you can summon Kate.
Okay, tell me about this found family.
Jinwoo and the nepo baby. The nepo baby is like my family. They don't see me. They don't like me. I feel really unloved in my family. And he's like, Jinwoo, you're basically like a brother to me. Like you treat me better than my family ever had. And Jinwoo's like, I can be your brother. And he's like, excellent, we're now family.
That's sweet. All right, so while Tom is still searching for the picture of the suit of armor, what were the best words or quotes or scenes that you found in this comic?
They're literally given the rules for how to beat the dungeon. You were told what to do, not to die. And yet everyone just panics. And I don't find that... So there are people who will panic. The entire group is not going to panic.
Also, because that's their job, right?
Right. Like, you haven't been in a dangerous situation before? You haven't been in a dungeon where you've had to solve a problem before?
So that's considered, like, I don't know, Tom, do they ever say, is it like an S-level dungeon?
It was basically an S-level dungeon. That's, I think, the way they describe it. It's just, it was an S-level dungeon hidden inside of like an E-level.
So
right, but they still understand basic rules, and anytime you're in a dangerous situation, the rule number 1 is don't panic. You panic, you die.
Well, they've probably never seen people die. They've never gone into anything that was like this intense, and some people freak out.
Yeah, but they knew there was danger because the one guy who was talking about his family the entire time, so we all knew he was going to die immediately, was like, I'm not supposed to be doing this because it's dangerous. I promised my wife I was going to stop. So they knew there was danger.
I have a question. Do they have, because they mentioned guilds, right? Mm-hmm. So do these guilds like give them training and like resources and weapons and things like that?
Ish. They recruit you first based on you being skilled. And that's part of the thing, is that like when he becomes powerful, all these guys are trying to get him on, and it's supposed to be framed like publicly to the public. It is framed like a bunch of sports teams that want to get him on. What it's actually more like is a bunch of, I've used the phrase either mafia or cartels, because they are also heavily connected to like who's running a different country. Because like America apparently has like gone through and bought up, paid off so many people all over the world to join the American team. So that's why like there's like a Korean hunter who's S rank, but he lives in California and operates under the oversight of an American guild because he got scouted for it. And so much of this is like, oh, wait, there's a new guy who's like, later on he gets found out to be like S rank. So they're saying, oh, there's a new S rank. That's going to mess with the power balance. And one of the big plot points in the arc I finished just recently is that there is specifically an arc where, because South Korea has a bunch of these powerful hunters, Japan and Korea are working together to deal with a breached gate, and Japan does the thing where they pull back and try to let the South Korean team take heavy losses, so Japan would have a leg up in terms of people with these hunter abilities. And so that was a whole thing. Like there's all sorts of weird international politics stuff going on with these organizations.
Well, I ask just because I feel like they would have at least a little bit of training, so they wouldn't completely lose their shit if they encountered like danger, like they did in the chapters that we read.
I think they go for them after they've survived long enough. That's like a whole thing. So I don't know. Okay. Kirsten, do you know if there's like, I know they have like a sparring room, but also when someone goes and uses the sparring room, they say like, oh wow, somebody's using the sparring room. That's really weird.
They basically only like give stuff to the people that they think are going to succeed and make money for them.
Have to prove you're worthy of being invested
yes,
in.
It's very, very, this is a super like, this is also why I made the Squid Game comparison. There's a lot of capitalistic descriptions and stylings of how everything works in here. Is like, it's very clearly, like this is a business venture. You're not just saving the world. You are specifically saving the world and making money while doing it.
That's kind of like also My Hero Academia-ish as well.
Yes, it has. That's a point of comparison. And the thing is that I know this is like, It's like 179 chapters, not including the spin-off. It's not a long comic compared to something like My Hero Academia. So I'm curious about how they handle it going forward, especially knowing there's like a spin-off and a sequel series.
Kirsten knows.
Kirsten's sitting there like, Tom, I can wreck your whole day.
Oh, I'm not going to tell you.
But yeah, I posted the armor in the chat.
Oh, boy.
That is like the hunter with the best drip.
Oh, you know the shiny boy's immediately gonna die. You want the guy who's got the beaten up armor.
No, this was his
on your
first
team.
mission. That's the thing, is that's his what he wears going out the first time. And yeah, no, he's the Nepo baby who I think he just straight up like is like, listen, I can officially start my own guild and stuff if I've been on 20 raids. You're really powerful and can fight off everything by yourself. Can I hang out with you and pay you? So that way it counts as me being on 20 raids, and that's how their friendship starts.
Oh, good. Pay to be his friend. That's helpful.
Yeah, he's a Nepo baby.
All right, I'm moving into adaptation analysis. Kirsten, have you seen the anime for this?
Oh, yes. Yeah, it's the first episode, the first 11 chapters we read. It's pretty much one for one. I don't remember the rest, but I remember it being really close.
Okay.
Like, they don't deviate from much.
Tom, are you gonna watch the anime as well?
Honestly, I am behind on watching so many anime. I will see how I feel after I finish the series, and then probably start it and then forget it and realize I should have finished the series. I just know how I am with some of these shows. The fact is that I binged My Adventures with Superman in 24 hours. Probably because if I didn't binge it in 24 hours, I would lose track of it and forget where I was in the show. So I can't make any official promises, but if I feel like going back to the well after finishing the series, then that's probably going to be my best bet.
So, Kirsten, if somebody read this webtoon and liked it, would you recommend them to watch the anime?
Oh, yeah.
Good to know. Yeah, because I know that I wouldn't necessarily have the same response if somebody liked like Persona 5 the game and then wanted to watch the anime. Not sure I would recommend it.
God, the anime of Persona 5 is like, yeah, let's take a game that takes 80 hours to complete and make it 20 episodes that are 20 minutes apiece.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff is cut out. Okay. Does anybody have any last thoughts or anything they want to say? Okay, then I'm going to wrap us up. Thank you for joining us on Bite Me Fanboy, a comics podcast. If you enjoyed this show, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your fellow comic fans. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.